All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from the Marble Palace. Thank you so much for being with us. The Paul Harrell program, the intersection of conservative ideas and reality, where we are building a liberty machine. We want you to be a part of that liberty machine. One of the ways you can do so is to text us today. The number is 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799. Joining us once again, former State Representative Donnie Copeland is with us.
Glad to be here. I'm glad you say former. I spoke at a prison recently, and the guy introduced me as state representative. And so 3 days later, I've got a deluge of mail asking about certain laws and so forth. So I asked the guy, I said, if you have me back, please say former state representative. So,
yeah.
So I forwarded that
you
stuff
can't do anything about
right.
it.
So I forwarded that on to my state representative, who, by the way, I'm very proud of. He voted against Carlton Wing, voted against the gasoline tax, and I called him personally and told him I was very proud of him.
Oh, good. Well, good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Carlton, he made some good points.
Yeah, he spoke up.
Yeah,
and
did a good job.
Really well. So,
all right. What do we want to talk about this hour here? We're awaiting news about what happens with Linda Collins-Smith privacy bill, which is a bathroom bill in a way, or it'll be labeled a bathroom bill. When the governor wants an amendment, to get what he wants. I will say this: we do have a few interesting things to get to. Dan Douglas is kind of back in the news.
That's disappointing.
Is it really? Well, he was the one carrying the gas tax, and he went. I don't even really want to do this segment because it's just getting ridiculous with Dan Douglas. He really enjoys the sound of his voice, but it's getting a little bit too liberal for me. Here's Dan Douglas. He's presenting a bill that would absorb the Poultry Commission into the Department of Agriculture or something like that. And they claim it's an efficiency bill and everything else. Well, I guess about in the middle of his testimony for the bill, they ask questions, and Charlotte Douglas decides to ask Dan Douglas a question about this, and I'll just let you
recognize to present HB 1725.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee, and I guarantee you this one doesn't have anything to do with highways or tax increases today. It's just the opposite. Although I've had people say it's a power grab, it's a trying to steal money, but it is nothing near that.
Thank goodness.
The propaganda is rampant.
Now, we could listen to that one all day right there.
Yeah. I mean, paragraphs are always...
Recognized to present HB 1725.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee, and I guarantee you this one doesn't have anything to do with highways or tax increases today.
Thank goodness.
It's just the opposite. Although I've had people say it's a power grab, it's a trying to steal money, but
power
it
graph.
is nothing near that. The propaganda is rampant.
Doing here.
Propaganda.
We've had several bills come before us that try to, that are combining agencies, and we keep hearing that this is the tone of this administration to bring efficiencies to state government. So does this align with, what we're seeing with other bills that are bringing these efficiencies as we, combine agencies?
If I might, Representative Douglas, sounds like I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
Do you get that, Donnie? That's because they both have the last name Douglas.
That is funny.
Yeah, that's why he says it like that.
I might ask Miss Amy Fetcher to come down here and join us with the governor's Department of Efficiency. Miss Amy.
Ms. Fetcher, if you don't mind introducing yourself for the record, you'll be recognized.
And for the record, I always try to get a good-looking woman sitting beside me.
Gosh.
So that is called sexual harassment.
It's called creepy.
or creepiness, or I don't know. I mean, Charlotte Douglas is the one you hear go, because everyone in the room.
She was just sitting beside him, right?
No, Charlotte Douglas was on the. wasn't beside him.
That would have been
that poor woman is the one who's going to sit beside him, which apparently is something that Dan Douglas is a fan of.
For the record, you'll be recognized.
And for the record, I always try to get a good-looking woman sitting beside me.
I mean, it is a compliment, I suppose. Dan Douglas here. He's really trying to compliment this woman, and talk that she is pretty. But gosh, is that appropriate? I mean, is that appropriate? Good grief! It was so awkward. Listen to the silence right after.
Introducing yourself.
Listen, I'm not going to say anything.
And for the record, I always try to get a good-looking woman sitting beside me.
Gosh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Amy Fetcher with the Governor's Office of Transformation. And Representative Douglas.
Do I need to repeat that? I'm sorry.
If you'd repeat your question.
Yeah, please repeat the question.
Everybody's still thinking about your comment.
Yeah, everyone's still thinking about the comment, number one. And number two, we're all thinking, why are you now going to help Dan Douglas? I mean, I guess it's a compliment. And look, I mean, I'm not one of these people that's like the PC police or whatever. Yeah, okay. I certainly think it's not sexual harassment to like go up to a woman and tell her that she's attractive. Assuming that, I mean, assuming you're single and everything else, and whatever. It's the field is open. Okay, whatever. But in a committee room. Where we're running bill, is that really the time to be like, oh, by the way, hey, you're hot. Hey, by the way, hey, I'd like to call this lady from the governor's office. By the way, she's really hot, which means you should vote the way I want. I mean, I made sure she was attractive so that we would, my bill would just kind of go right on through the committee process.
The gift that keeps on giving, man.
Dan Douglas. I mean, I'm telling you.
I feel like I'm talking to myself.
He's got it. I wish he would start doing that. That's the only thing that could make Dan Douglas better is if he was like, a Dan Douglas doesn't vote for a bill. A Dan Douglas votes for only good bills. A Dan Douglas.
Like Ricky Henderson speaking the first person.
Yeah. You've got. That's the only thing that would make Dan Douglas better. But yeah, so. Dan Douglas, I had to play that when I heard that.
You're pretty.
Oh my goodness! And everybody and Charlotte Douglas, bless her heart, like
gosh,
she's like gosh. Just something. It was involuntary. She couldn't help it. She couldn't help it. She just couldn't believe the utter display of
your party
of chauvinistic. Just for the record, yeah. Go ahead. Make sure get it on the record, Dan. Please, just whatever you do, get it on the record.
I might ask Miss Amy Fetcher to come down here and join us. With the governor's Department of Efficiency, Miss Amy.
Ms. Fetcher, if you don't mind introducing yourself for the record, you'll be recognized.
And for the record, I always try to get a good-looking woman sitting beside me.
Gosh.
Thank you.
Oh man, it's on the record now. We've got it. I mean, you're listening to it now. It is now officially a part of the record.
I'm just glad he didn't use that line in Deliverance, which I didn't watch, by the way, but something about a pretty mouth.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But you never know. You never know. Don't give him any ideas, Donnie. Don't.
Amy, you got a pretty mouth.
Oh, my goodness. Now, as he was closing for the bill, that was the worst. But as he was closing for the bill, he decided to list man's biggest fears, which are these.
There's four of the biggest fears to man are dying, conspiracy theories, change, and that's what this is. It's a little bit of change, and people are scared of change because you don't know what's going to happen. Under this, you do know what's going to happen because it's spelled out what can and what cannot happen, and what can change and what cannot change. The fourth thing that man fears is a mad wife. But with that, I would appreciate a good vote, and thank you, committee, for your indulgence.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he said bad.
Yeah, a bad wife. The fourth thing a man fears is a bad wife. So that's a recap. That's fear of dying, conspiracy theories, change, and a bad wife. Those are the four biggest fans. Do what? A bad wife. Maybe it was a mad wife. I don't know. Either way,
works.
Yeah, either one works. Oh man. I wish Charlotte Douglas' microphone had been on when he said that.
Gosh.
Oh man. So anyway, that I don't mean to keep highlighting Dan Douglas every day, but I mean
don't stop.
In all seriousness, he is running a ridiculous amount of bills. He's being used to. I got a text message here just a second ago. How in the world did Dan Douglas ever get elected? I don't know. It seems like he got elected for the sole purpose of getting primaried and getting thrown out of office and getting a government job. I mean, that's what he's on the way to do. He needs to be primaried ASAP.
Think about the governor's bill runners. He's got Jake Files and Dan Douglas.
Yeah, and they're all from that Bentonville area, too, which is...
Isn't there a nuclear... isn't there like a nuclear plant within 100 miles or so there, right? So that could affect the water supply.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that. That would be...
You know where I was going with that.
I had no idea where you're going with that. But, yeah, you never know. It's all of the... sorry.
He needs to write a book, The Four Fears of Man.
The Four Fears of Man. You know, remember doing a little flashback here back on the 23rd of February. One of the fears was throwing people out of nursing homes.
Could I do a closing statement or two here? I'll keep it quick.
Thank you.
Okay. Members, what we heard here about the student that be paying more for his textbooks.
Hang on. Joe Jett just sounds like...
Thank you.
Yeah,
Joe's so cool.
Yeah, but he feels sorry for Joe Jett. He sounds like he's so defeated. Like, thank you. Please do keep it brief.
He reminds me of I
can't take this anymore.
One of the judges on Good Wife. You know, those judges were always so entertaining. I don't know if you ever watched.
No, I've never seen it. Yeah,
yeah, but the judges were like the central part of that show. So
I'll keep it brief.
Thank you.
My goodness. I mean, anyway, this is what he was talking about. You know, he wanted to. He wanted nursing home owners, or I'm sorry, not nursing home owners, but we were going to have to draw straws to see who got kicked out of a nursing home.
Could I do a closing statement or two here? I'll keep it quick.
Thank you.
Okay. Members, what we heard here about the student that be paying more for his textbooks there. Well, we've heard higher ed also say one reason tuition is so high because we hadn't had state funding. We've got to have the money to do that. If we have more revenue, we might be able to give additional funding to higher education. We heard about the single mother.
I'm going to have to make a montage of this someday.
Who's going to be paying more for her internet purchases while she's sitting at home ordering. She may be sitting at home because the local store where she could have worked is closed because of an unfair advantage of the online retailers. We have to take care of our state. You know, we have to take care of our local businesses. And it's not a Democrat or Republican issue. It's an Arkansas issue. And, you know, I don't know. We passed medical marijuana here. I didn't know we'd realized we'd started smoking it yet. But some of this stuff, let's do away with taxes. That's fine. Which school you want to close? Which prison you want to shut down? Or are we going to draw lots to throw people out of nursing homes? How are we going to fund these issues? We all know that.
What are we drawing?
Yeah, drawing lots.
Lots.
Yeah, drawing lots.
I mean, I see a montage with the background being Joe Jett and Charlotte Douglas alternating. Gosh, thank you. Gosh, thank you.
Yeah, what are those called? Where they actually make music out of them?
Yeah.
What are those called?
Yeah, it's
or like
a
remix or something.
Yeah, like it's a remix.
Yeah,
That's exactly
but they'll make an actual song out of it.
Yeah.
A mashup. Dan Douglas is a prime candidate for
Gosh,
that.
thank you. Gosh, thank you.
Whether you shop at VictoriaSecret.com or I always like to have a pretty woman sitting next to me. I mean, good grief. And, Donnie, you missed it yesterday. Donnie.
I hate that.
Oh, man.
I knew I'd catch up on your show, though.
Okay. Hang on a second. We've got time for this. If I can find it.
Who said politics is not fun?
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, hang on. I've got to find it. I didn't have this because I thought you had known this, but because we're spent this entire segment on Dan Douglas, we might as well get in. We might as well get in here. So Dan Douglas, when he's closing for the gas tax yesterday, right? Because you got to bring it home. You got to convince people. So he decides
the closer.
Yeah, the closer. bring in the closer. Dan Douglas decides to get people to vote for the gas tax by closing with this story.
About filling chuck holes. I heard somebody say this morning, I was talking to him about it, and they said, what about the single mom at home with 2 kids that's just barely getting by? I'm going to ask her for a fuel tax increase. Well, the price of fuel varies so much. I remember last summer I paid $1.65. It's $2.05, $2.10 right now. Fluctuations in fuel price are part of the everyday life that we live with. But what's more troubling to that single mom is whenever she hits a chuck hole or chug hole, whichever one you want to call it, pothole.
I think both of those are wrong.
And they run a tire, they knock the front end out from under their car. And it costs them $100 or several $100 to repair it.
Yeah,
that's more devastating too.
Yeah, but it also costs them more because we're now taxing those tires.
$2 on, $1 off, right?
Yeah. So
she's getting hit left and right.
Yeah,
man.
I know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Dan Douglas voted for the tire tax increase.
Then a fuel price increase at the pump.
Bring it home, Dan. Come on, bring it home.
And my final remark,
Here we go.
Presented this bill in the Transportation Committee the other day. And after it passed out of the Transportation Committee overwhelmingly, I did what a lot of us do, especially when we get older. Representative Hendren, I went into the men's room, and as I was standing there staring at the wall, as we all do,
gosh,
I heard a voice beside me. No, it wasn't. But it was a man that said, now listen to this. The man said, one thing you didn't mention.
I'd love for somebody to be like, you were by yourself, sir. You were by yourself. You weren't talking to anybody but yourself. Maybe Dan Douglas.
Did you hear the voices when he said somebody spoke to me and they go,
oh yeah. And then somebody was
thank you.
right there beside me as I'm sitting there staring at the wall. Oh, my
Representative Hendren, I went into the men's room, and as I was standing there staring at the wall.
What an insult to Representative Hendren. As we get older, Hendren's the oldest guy in the room. And he says, Representative Hendren. I do like most of us do when we get older.
When I pass the bill, I go to the bathroom.
Pass.
That's what he said.
Yeah, well, just pass the bill. Gosh. This is ridiculous. All right, we're taking a break. We got to regroup. We're going to reset. You're listening to the Paul Harrell program. Back in just a moment.